So here's how the fire went down. I was doing a burnout to finish off the very last bit of these tires. Matt yelled fire. I started panicking. I tried to get the steering wheel off. I tried to get the fire extinguisher out. I tried to get the harness off. And then I got out of the car and I got underneath it and I sprayed the fire. There was a big fire right underneath the passenger side in the engine bay. I got almost all of the fire out. I yelled, go get another extinguisher. He ran off, grabbed another one. I also went and grabbed another one. By the time I got back, Matt got back before me. He had the fire out. We started inspecting what was damaged. Found that the fuel line on the fuel rail had actually burst off. We turned the fuel pump on manually. We cleaned the fuel line out. We put the fuel line back on. We started the car up, drove it straight back onto the trailer. Finished. For anyone wondering, the sway bar upgrade was a huge success. I did notice a lot more stability and front end grip. However, that almost had an adverse effect, being the fact that this car doesn't have enough rear end grip. So I found it very difficult and very skatey to drive, even running a semi-slick tyre. I now have to dial in a shitload more rear grip. I've got a feeling the fact that I'm running a very neutral toe is probably the main cause of this. The next step I'm going to be trying is winding in a hell of a lot more toe, and we're just going to see if we can get this thing really to grip up. What's up guys, and welcome back to another video. So it is now the day after the fire. Let's go have a look at the car and inspect all the damage. I have put a small amount of work into it since I've been home. Thank you to everyone who reached out to me on my Instagram and my Facebook telling me the best way to get all this fire extinguisher residue off the car. So basically the number one priority was to act as fast as possible, get that off there. A lot of people said an alcohol-based solution. A lot of people said hot water and strong detergent. So I used the hot water and the strong detergent because it's all I had lying around. And then I coated the whole engine bay and absolutely everything in a lanolin spray to try and neutralize and protect all the surfaces from getting any corrosion. So I also gave the car a quick wash down. I wanted to see how much of the fire residue I could actually get off the car. On the surface, it does look very superficial at this stage. I've now got to get stuck into pulling everything apart and start really inspecting anything and everywhere that the fire could have gotten into. The first thing I did was take the air filter out and give that a thorough cleaning, and I've used a recharge kit, so that's basically drying at the moment. Don't want any of that fire extinguisher spray left in the air filter that could possibly get sucked into the motor at a later stage. A lot of the harness got torched. I'm thinking already that probably the best thing to do on that aspect is to just pull that harness out and get a completely new one, because we don't want any issues from the melted harness to give us any dramas down the track. So it's a lot safer to replace that, and once that one's out of the car, we can do a thorough inspection of it and we can see if anything of it's salvageable. The radiator cap has melted. It's kind of a good thing. I didn't put my alloy radiator in, so I've got that ready to go. Swap out that plastic radiator that did have a slight leak. We'll swap that out and that'll solve that issue, and then we'll also have a nice shiny alloy radiator back in it. Also, first glance, it does appear that all the heat wrap on the extractors did fatigue out and has fallen away, especially when you hit it with the pressure washer. So it'd be a good time to pull the extractors out, pull the exhaust off, put some more heat wrap around that, because that's one of the things that's just been falling off the more I've been driving this car. It does look like a couple of the breather lines have melted as well. Good time to replace a couple of them. The interior copped a lot of the fire extinguisher residue. It's just a byproduct of the panic at the time to get the fire out, and not having any windows, that it just sort of floated in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull the seats out. We're going to give them a thorough clean once they're out, and that way we can get underneath the floor pan. We're also going to pull the dash out. A lot of the residue obviously made its way to the boot as well, just being so free and open. Another thing we're going to be doing, we'll be draining all the fuel out, we'll be cleaning the fuel filters, we'll clean the fuel pump. First inspection, it does look like I've gotten off quite fortunate. There's a lot of superficial damage which I'm not going to bother repairing at this stage because it's just a waste of time. This car needs to be ready and able to drive at a moment's notice. At the end of the year, I do my refresh on the car, so I'll touch up the paint and the livery then if I need to. The engine bay, I'm not going to worry about the paint or any of the bog in the engine bay. If the motor comes out, that's when we'll worry about it. But for now, I need to get this car fixed and ready to slide again as soon as possible. So the first thing I need to do is get this car up in the air, and that's going to allow me access to the custom floor pan so we can get to the seat bolts. hot today. Motivation is low, but we need to make some progress, so let's get into it. So now that we got the car jacked up in the air, the first thing we're going to be doing is we're going to pull the radiator out, so we're going to drop out all the coolant. While we're there, we're also going to be changing the oil and the oil filter. So it looks pretty cool with the front end all stripped off. Got the radiator out. We found a bit more of the extinguisher powder in there, so we just sprayed some linoleum on there just to see if it dissolves it completely. And now that the car's jacked up, we have access to the underside. So let's go underneath and have a quick look. This is the custom floor pan that Mert made. This was to allow the Sparco seats to sit as low as possible. So this is our 4 seat bolts that we've got to undo to get all the seats out. And it's a good thing we got under here, and you can see there's a lot of this fire extinguisher residue still on the exhaust. And I imagine we're going to find this all over the car. You know, I've left this for a day now, so that's caked on there a lot more. Some residue there. We've got a residue build-up up in here. Finding more and more damage. So as you can see, the knuckle's been toasted. This brand new sway bar link bush is pretty much completely finished. Anywhere the heat's gone, it's really just left some serious damage, unfortunately. So I find this actually hilarious. Underneath the passenger seat, I have my GoPro 4 windsock, which I've been looking for, my needle nose pliers, somebody's sunglasses, a fire extinguisher pin, a crescent. There's a lot of tyre in here, somebody's lighter, but yeah, so it's probably a good idea to give this a good clean. Regardless, it's been a win-win situation. So Dash is out, and it's just madness how like this fire extinguisher residue has just gotten absolutely everywhere. So I'm even going to the extent of bathing all the harnesses. So we'll let these sit and soak for a bit. We'll give them a thorough rinse off. And we're actually going to give these seats a nice soaking as well. Give them a good scrub, because you can see there's a lot of it still caked into the top here. And there's still a shitload of sand and tyre in here just from use. So we're going to give these a nice birthday as well. So we've got the engine harness out. We started pulling apart a lot of the engine bay. We've got the extractors off on the driver's side. And have a look at that. Is that not one of the most disgusting things you've ever fucking seen? So we have all the extractors now off. As you can see, there's still just residue in there. Let's get all this heat wrap off, and we're going to redo absolutely all of this. Now we've got the modified PSA engine harness out. As you can see, it's basically completely torn through all of the conduit. A lot of these have gone back to their wires, which means a lot of this is not going to be salvageable. Well, more than likely would be salvageable, but where do you draw the line on this? You know, do we just cut half of it off and bin the rest, or we just bin the whole lot? You know, all these injector plugs toasted. So first thing we're going to do is give PSA a call, see if they've got another one in stock, and then we can get it all modified. They do these neat fuse relay setup, basically runs the whole engine harness, so it just makes the conversion that much easier. Interior is getting there. We've started cleaning a lot of it up. Then I'm going to move on to the tidying up of the wiring process. And all this was done kind of half-assed. A lot of stuff's just been rigged up over the last year and a bit just to work real quick, so we'll spend a bit of time, we'll tidy all that up. Current progress on the engine bay. There's still a lot I want to remove and do a good check over. So I've definitely under anticipated how much of a big job this one's going to be. So we're losing light real quick. So we're going to wrap up today and we're going to pick this up tomorrow. Okay, so it is now the next morning, and I basically only have a couple more days before I have to fly back to work. So I need to get everything done and stripped out and figure out everything that's damaged today. And that way, while I'm away at work, I can figure out what I need to buy, what needs to be replaced. And then when I get back, I can start getting this car ready and we can get it back to the track. So we still got to get the coil packs off. We've got to take this fitting off here. Got to get another one of these breather lines that got a little melted. Another thing I'm going to be doing while we're sort of restoring the car is getting rid of this Wilwood booster. When we did the smooth engine bay, I had a GK Tech single outlet brake master. However, it didn't meet CAMS regs, so the CAMS regs stipulate you need to have a couple of different outlets. and the Wilwood was the only option I could find that would meet that and still delete the brake booster and sort of give us that showy engine bay. So driving without a brake booster has never just clicked. I don't really like it. You're either on or you're off, and I don't like that, especially when you're trying to tandem and wash off speed. I like to be able to have the knowledge that I can apply a little bit of pressure and the car's going to brake a certain way, not that I have to apply all pressure or literally no pressure. So I've got a spare booster, I've got a spare master. We're going to pull the Wilwood one out, and then we're going to get that one stuck in as well, because since we're having a bit of major downtime with the car, this is going to be the perfect opportunity to get these little jobs done that I've always been wanting to do. I've just always been putting them off for one reason or another. Finished taking off all the heat wrapping from the extractors. Just look at it. I've thoroughly cleaned these extractors, and there is so much residue still lying around. You know, half of it's burnt, half of it's still got powder in it, half of it's still okay. Same with this one here is just as bad. Time to do a thorough clean, and then we can put some more heat wrap on it in the next video. Strip down the old radiator as well, so we've got the thermos and the radiator hoses off. Although this one might have had a slight leak, we're going to keep it. You never know when a spare radiator can come in handy. We've got the nice alloy one ready to go back in. So we've run into a small issue with the brake booster delete, is that these M10 banjo bolts do not fit the factory master, which is super unfortunate. So it looks like it's time to pay another trip to Lost Racing, and we'll get a couple more of these banjo fittings, and then we can chuck this factory brake master and booster back in the car. Alright, so as you guys just saw, we've pretty much stripped away anything that was fire damage. Now I can go back to work and I can start buying and piecing together all the bits and pieces that were damaged from the fire, and that way by the time I get back from my next 2-week swing, I'll have all the parts ready and we can start the reassembly process. However, we're going to wrap this video up here, guys, but we're going to leave you with some very wise advice from my good friend Luke Riley. Subscribe, you dogs.